Hi, Facebook. We are doing a go live edition today talking about all about court dates and continuances. First thing, what is a continuance? It's basically when you reset a court date from its current court setting. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can get a continuance, and every court is different. The first court that we're going to talk about is Kansas City Municipal Court, my favorite place. Kansas City has recently changed the rules, as you remember in one of our previous live sessions. Now you only get two continuances. So the first time that you're going to go to court, you're going to be on an arraignment docket. That means that it's an initial appearance where the judge reads the charges to you. If you hire an attorney before your arraignment docket, the attorney is going to have to transfer it or continue it to another day to the attorney status docket. And so we have a lot of clients that aren't aware of the new change in the rules in Kansas City, and they want to get that ticket resolved on the very first arraignment docket. That's usually not going to happen because when you have an attorney, it has to be taken care of on an attorney status docket. And so now we can get a continuance in a couple of different ways. You can get a continuance by appearing in court. Some courts allow you to get a continuance for the first time online. But if you're like most people, you may not remember that you have a traffic ticket until a couple of days before court. In some instances, you would need at least a week's notice. Depending on the type of ticket, if you can get it done online, then it's 48 hours in advance for you to get your own continuance. But that does count against your two continuances in Kansas City, so make sure that you use that wisely. I always suggest that you hire an attorney immediately after getting a ticket so that we have time to move it to the appropriate docket, get you an offer, and get your case closed. The second way that you can get a continuance is, of course, hire an attorney. We can do it for you. There are two ways that attorneys do that, either by sending in what's called a motion for a continuance to the circuit court, or appearing in person and asking the judge or court clerk for a new date. I always tell people, don't wait until the last minute, because depending on how many court dates that you've had previously, how old your ticket is, you may or may not get a continuance. I always tell clients, I am not in charge of getting the continuance. I can only ask. Lawyers are not magicians. We have to ask the judge, and it's completely up to the judge if you're going to get a continuance or not. And depending, again, if your case is too old, you've had too many continuances, or the case is super serious, then you may or may not qualify for a continuance. And so even though you hire an attorney, request that the attorney gives you a continuance, then that is not always guaranteed. So if you know that your case is getting old or you've been to court a few times, I always suggest that you go to court, because if you're not in court, even if I'm there as your attorney, even if you have Johnny Cochran, if you're not there, that continuance is not guaranteed, and you could get a bench warrant, also known as a capias warrant. And so if you do not go to court, the judge does not grant your continuance, the judge may enter a warrant on your behalf. A lot of people don't realize that if you're there, the judge might require for you to close the case, but you're not going to go warrant if you're in court. And so the best case scenario is that the client is always in court, just in case something happens. But if you can't go to if you can't go to court because you have work or you have other obligations, then I always suggest to take care of your tickets as soon as possible before the second continuance. So that is KC Municipal Court, okay? So we know that we are only allowed two continuances in KC Municipal Court before that goes to a final disposition. The next court we're going to talk about is Raytown and Independence. These two courts are pretty similar how they give continuances and about court dates. And so there are a lot of other courts that fall into this general category of Raytown, Independence. Belton is a good example. These are courts where your attorney can submit a motion for continuance to the court. And then the judge would rule on it. Both of these courts are not full-time courts, and so the judge, when they get to court or when they're on the bench, they'll rule on that continuance motion for you. Now, if you do need a continuance with these particular courts, like most municipal courts, you cannot request a continuance online. Raytown has some newfound digital capability. I don't know if what the standard is for that. Not all tickets are alike. So I would check out the website Just Google Raytown Municipal Court to see if your ticket qualifies for an online continuance. But the general rule for most municipal courts are that you have to appear in person to get a continuance. Now, Raytown and Independence do not have the same rules as Kansas City, so depending on the age of your case, you may get one continuance, you may get four. It just depends on the type of case, how long your case has been going on, and if you have an excusable reason for getting a continuance. Okay, so the third tier, Grandview, always in a class by itself. Grandview has rules that are a little bit different than other municipal courts. So in Grandview, this is, remember, the court that if you go warrant, you have to post bond. There is no motion to set aside warrants. There's none of that. You have to post bond in Grandview. And so with Grandview, I have it highlighted separately because you want to make sure that you get an attorney as soon as possible if you get a ticket from Grandview. They have 2 dockets, and that's a little bit confusing because they have an attorney docket where attorneys go on behalf of their clients. That's at 4 o'clock. And then they have a regular docket at 6 o'clock. And so if you're on the 6 o'clock docket, generally an attorney can go on your behalf, talk to the judge, still talk to the prosecutor at the 6 o'clock docket. But I always prefer for my clients to go to the 4 o'clock docket because they can get in and out a lot quicker if they go to the attorney docket with us. And so Grandview, remember, it's not a set amount of continuances, but you want to make sure you don't go warrant in Grandview because you're going to have to post a bond. Now, the fourth tier are state trooper tickets. Okay, so state trooper tickets are generally sent to something called the Fine Collection Center, or the FCC. These are really challenging tickets sometimes because we first send in a not guilty plea to the Fine Collection Center. Then your ticket is transferred from Jeff City to the circuit court. Now, you'll usually get these tickets on the highway. I know when I'm going to court out in Favorite County, Cooper County, Lafayette County, if you get pulled over going to one of those faraway counties, they're going to send your ticket to the FCC. Now, how you get a continuance from there, you can either, one, hire an attorney immediately, which I'm always going to suggest, or within 30 days. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Within 30 days, you have to send in your request to have your ticket transferred to the circuit court. From then, your state trooper ticket is going to be handled by Boone County, Lafayette County, whichever county you happen to be in when you got pulled over by the state trooper. And circuit courts all are different. So the protocol for Lafayette County is different from Jackson County. Even if you are traveling in Jackson County, if you're on the highway and get pulled over by the highway patrol, your case is going to go to a state court or a circuit level court. Now, Jackson County, which is the most common that we have in our office, they only give you 2, count them, 2 continuances. So the first continuance is going to be about 60 days out. The second continuance, if you get the second continuance, it's going to be set on a trial docket. State courts all have minimums that they have to meet as far as moving their docket. So a lot of them have between a 90-day and 180-day drop dead date that ticket has to be resolved in. And like I said, every court is different. But like, for instance, in Jackson County, you get a ticket today, it's sent up to the Fine Collection Center. We send in a motion for continuance and to transfer to the county prosecutor's office. That's going to be about between two weeks and 30 days. Then they're going to set you on a docket another 2 to 3 weeks out, and then that is going to be your initial arraignment docket. If you need more time from that, then they may give you one more status docket, and then after that, it's set for trial. Now, I don't know if some of you all have been in Judge Busher's court, but once that case is set for trial, it is a done deal. It is going to be done on your trial date, and that date will not be continued unless the officer doesn't show up or unless there's some other emergency that we could get a continuance. But generally, once your case is set for final, not only in state trooper courts, but also Raytown, Independence, Grandview, or Kansas City Municipal Court. If your case is set for final, that means that the judge wants it done on or before your final date. So say your final court date, it's set for final or trial on October 3rd. You have to be ready to go on October 3rd. There will be no more continuances, no car breakdowns, no I have to work. You have to get it resolved before that final date. And so a lot of times, if people go warrant after having an attorney, a lot of times their attorney is there. 99% of the time, your attorney is standing right there in court when the judge issues the warrant. Because remember, the judge is in charge of giving you a continuance. Even though I may apply for one, I might beg and plead. The ultimate decision lies with the judge. So if your case is too old, or you're on that final court date or trial setting and you're not present, you may go warrant. I hope I answered some of your questions. I have an awesome cameraman today. Say hi, Mark.
Hi.
Great. Okay, so he is filling in today. He's sick from school, so we're shooting from Stacy Shaw headquarters. Now tell me, Mark, are there any questions before we end?
No.
No questions again. Okay, as always, if you have any questions, the best way to get into contact with my office is phone, 816-359-1877. You can visit our website at stacyshawlaw.com. Hit me up on Facebook or comment below in the comment section. If it's a question that I can answer on the comments, I'll answer that. I'll answer it on the comments. If not, I'll inbox you. Thanks so much for tuning in again. Go visit our Project Freedom page if you want to see the replay. Thanks, Facebook.